One of the ideas that I'm very grateful to have learned when I started studying NLP years ago, it is the idea that at times we feel congruent. We're all systems go. We're excited to move in a particular direction, and at other times we're incongruent, meaning part of us may want to do something, another part of us may not want to do it. And as soon as I heard this, it just rang so true with so much of my experience. There were many things that I was doing, and many that I did do, but it was very much an experience of fighting against myself. That I would do something because I felt like I had to do it, or should do it, or I needed to do it, but another part of me wasn't on board. And so I would do these things sort of dragging my feet, which is a very different experience than when you're sort of all moving in the same direction, and things are a little bit smoother. Then the one image I always think about is when we're incongruent. It's kind of like if your car gets one of those locks put on the tire. It's like you can drive, but it's incredibly slow, and it damages. There's wear and tear on your car. So what do we do with this? The first thing is just noticing when there is inner resistance to something, and instead of labeling it as, even calling it resistance, it just and sort of demonizing it, just acknowledging it, that it's a different part of you that has different hopes and dreams and different concerns at times. And if we can begin to get curious about what it's trying to do for us, then there's an opportunity to hopefully find agreement between these different parts of ourselves. And I think coming with this idea of every part of us is trying to do something good for us, but it may not be obvious like what it is. And even though it's trying to do something good, the way in which it's trying to do it may not be helping kind of your overall system. For me, it's the beginning of really gaining a certain level of respect for all the different parts of ourselves, all the different drives, and it's also the beginning of stopping the judgment. There's a lot of times part of us like wants to go and achieve or be a good person, whatever your goal is. But that part of us that wants to be a good person may be judging the part of us that doesn't want to be a good person, or the part of us that's more crass or whatever it is. And learning how to respect and sort of give equal respect and credence to each part is the beginning of being more respectful to ourselves, and hopefully the beginning of creating some sort of harmony, where these different parts of ourselves can work together. And so it was interesting when I first learned about it. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And immediately I could sense in myself the many places at that time where I felt very incongruent. And sometimes I would see someone else, and I could just see that how congruent they were, and I could see in myself like a hesitation or something that was expressing an incongruence. So this is something that I think you can just begin to get curious about, and it doesn't always show up in the same way. Sometimes the hesitation might be just a feeling in your body, a reluctance to do something, or just, like I said, a dragging of your feet. I remember at one point when I would try to do schoolwork, it was uncanny. Immediately I would fall asleep. Like every time I would sit down and do some work, and boom, I would just fall asleep. And after a period of time, I sort of got curious about this, and I realized, okay, this was another part of me that was feeling threatened in that case, and so it would just sort of shut me down. And once I took the time to really kind of begin to listen and get curious and welcome that part back, um, things began to shift. Um, and sometimes it's good to think of these different parts almost like dealing with a frightened child, and just thinking, how would you respond to a child that's frightened, or that wants to go do something else. um, this is a place where it really also helps to work with somebody. If you can find somebody who is trained in NLP or something akin to it, it's I find it's much easier to sort out and dialogue between these different parts of ourselves if we have someone else there to help hold the space and help notice when you're in one part or another. So even though many NLP techniques or kind of therapeutic techniques you can do on your own, this is one where I'll call one of my friends and say, hey, I noticed this incongruence coming up. Can you help me sort this out and slow it down and really make sure everyone's heard. So I think I noticed this recently, and kind of the reason it's been on my mind is for two things. One, I noticed a strong incongruence around a decision I was making recently. And so I actually spoke to a couple different friends and really slowed it down and was able to tease these two aspects of myself apart and find a course of action that I was comfortable with. So that was one thing. And then the other was just noticing, recently I've really been struck by how people very often berate themselves. And I'm not saying I don't do this, I criticize myself as much as the next person, but sometimes it shocks me how willing we are to pick on ourselves, or pick on and disown different aspects of ourselves. And so that really struck me, and I thought, oh, what are some ways that people can create a welcoming atmosphere for all the different parts of themselves? So that's it for now on incongruence, and I hope you find it useful the next time you notice that you're hesitating somewhere.